Live from a Zoom meeting recorded weeks ago, it's Phoenix. Tonight, will Phoenix survive the quarantine? Find out with your co-hosts Emily Astril and professional self-isolationist, your host, Russ Kazmierzak.
Welcome to another episode of Phoenix. Tonight, the Valley's podcast that once answered the question, or attempted to anyway, will the Phoenix art scene survive COVID-19? Will artists find a chance to thrive amidst the stay-at-home order? But now, we're wondering if Phoenix will ever have another tonight, because hot on the heels of the stay-at-home order, a curfew has been initiated. Essentially, tonight doesn't exist. From 8 p.m. to 5 a.m., you should be at home, just like you should have been during the month of April. But now, completely different reasons. I'm your host, Russ Kazmierzak. I'm joined by my co-host, Emily Astril. Hey, Emily.
What is up? And I didn't know the curfew was all the way until 5 a.m., by the way. I only just knew about 8 o'clock.
Starts at 8 p.m., goes till 5 a.m. And let me preface what we're going to talk about here with a few disclaimers. First of all, and I'm stumbling through this even as we go because it's brand new territory. We started this series in the spirit of my old live late night talk show, Phoenix Tonight, in an attempt to address whether the art scene will survive COVID-19. How will live events resume in the midst of a month-long stay-at-home order? Well, hot on the heels of that stay-at-home order, we've had a nationwide tragedy that has resulted in legitimate social unrest and protest. And in cities across the country, you don't need me to tell you this, but just to contextually here to put my mind in the right place, in cities across the country, protests turned into riots, which turned into looting. And I'm summarizing something Emily said before we started recording here, because I think those three categories are important, and we could talk about that here in a moment. But yes. Right here in Phoenix, Scottsdale, you can YouTube the videos and watch as a peaceful protest ensued in downtown Phoenix, and wild looting began in Old Town Scottsdale. Now, if you're not familiar with Scottsdale, that's basically our Rodeo Drive. Wouldn't you say that's a fair way to describe it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy because, I mean, we'll talk about it, but there's expensive dealerships. You know, there's Ferrari dealerships, expensive Mercedes dealerships, cars that you don't mostly see on the lot that cost the price of a house. So, I mean, there's things there that are expensive, and then there's still the mom and pop shops, and that's one of the main reasons why we're here. But yeah, I mean, I think it was just appropriate for us to do it just because we're seeing our scene getting hurt. Our scene, our music, our creativity, and it's very fun for us because, and it's I'm not trying to be saying fun in a rude way. It's just like, it's very cautious right now because I feel like because of these riots and looting, we are going to probably lose our outlets. And I figured this is one of the main reasons why I wanted to do this. I asked Rusk about it because, one, I feel like we're both politically neutral. Than a lot of other podcasts, especially myself, I try to stay as central as possible. I'm just speaking for myself. Russ, I'll just leave Russ for himself. But it's just one of those things where I felt like it was very appropriate. And be honest, it's kind of we care about making things work. There's a lot of friends right now who don't have the same judgment, but I'm at least happy I can have a friend right now and a co-host who we can, throw things back and forth. And I have a very, very pinch of friends that I could do that with and have these very moments. And I mean, we are going to talk about the rioting and the protest and the looting. What's the difference from them sometimes, and some things, because trust us, we could not avoid them. They came to us.
Well, we had an episode in the can, full disclosure. We were going to talk about the past few guests we've had. Ken Brown from Drawn to Comics.
Yes.
Danetta Williams-Trigg from Full Figure Productions and A Night of Misfit Films.
Yeah.
Rosemary Dombrowski, local poet laureate. And we had that episode ready to go for you this week. But after the weekend, I thought it would have been tone deaf, I guess, to on a show called Phoenix Tonight, ignore what had been happening in Phoenix for the last several nights, you know? So, and then to piggyback on what you just said, I want to preface this show with a few undeniable truths, okay? What happened to George Floyd is inexcusable. It's a tragedy. It demands justice. I think that is a blanket statement that everybody can hang their hat on. And if you can't, that's the point where conversation and debate, argument needs to be had. I think that social protest is a cornerstone of American society and culture. It's arguably the roots of our very origin here. And protest sometimes needs to get to a certain level to be considered legitimate. I mean, folks, when you drive around town on any given day, you could find a small cluster of folks with signs. And sometimes they're the Jesus Saves people. Sometimes they're protesting an organization. I've seen folks in Midtown Phoenix outside of a bank building or something, and they're a part of either a union or an employees group that feels mistreated or undervalued. And so they storm out and they protest the company with banners and signs on the street. You can see that at any given time. And I believe that sometimes that blends into the tableau. You drive right by it. You don't realize the significance of it. It doesn't impact your world or your life. In this case, these kinds of protests that have global ramifications, that can change history, need to reach a certain fever pitch, just like they did during the civil rights movement of the 60s, to be heard, to be important. And I think that is an undeniable truth. What we're going to kind of analyze is where things might get murky, things might get controversial. This is where people might not agree with us.
Yeah.
And it's the fact that a fair share of the looting that happened in Phoenix, mostly Scottsdale, locally, and around the country, it definitely muddies the message at best as to what these protests should have been about. And if it isn't muddying the message, it's just a completely criminal act with no point. I mean, that's where I stand. That's the spectrum, and I'm trying to find my opinion on it. And that's kind of my final disclaimer, is we are finding our opinions on this. We're not making any declarative statements upon which we're trying to convince you of a truth. You know, if you're watching this video and you want to comment below constructively, that's awesome. That's conversation, and I'd love to have it. If you want to essentially troll because you disagree with us, or you're assigning us a political party or opinion that might not even be accurate because you're just getting a slice of our worldview here. If you want to do that, don't waste your time. We're not going to comment back. We're not going to debate you the point. It's going to fall on deaf ears, and you could have used that energy doing something else, you know? So again, hear our side of this as we explore with nothing definitive, just thoughts, ruminations, you know, kind of, this is the journey. And if you want to throw some destination signposts down there, again, that might not be where we would have gone. So thank you for watching, and and comment cautiously, I guess. I mean,
yeah. I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
Well, it's just the thing too, is just like right now, it's everything is just not like 100. We're just pretty much telling the world what we think right now. Our judgment can change later, and I think that's the problem. Is sometimes some people see one side and then they lock on, and it's like, and they'll stay locked on even till they're completely wrong. We just noticed a bunch of weird things happening, especially here, where, you know, it was funny because from the get-go, you know, I guess let's go with the protests. Like, a good percentage of the people from the protests are not from Arizona. They're from other places. And for me, I think it's a bit awkward. Like, wouldn't you want to have your protest in your local area or your local state to support where you live and defend where you are, not come from, I mean, like New York have people from like literally Oregon or other places, like literally on our side of the country fly over there or travel all the way over there.
Yeah, let's clarify real quick before we dive too deep into that. Now,
Yeah.
what are you basing that thought on, that people here in Phoenix weren't locals this weekend?
There was a couple of pictures of people noticing that license plates were from out of town. The arrest records were also a lot of people from out of town with IDs and stuff. So it's really crazy. The the suspicious thing, but I have to wait until the evidence is clear. It seems like, especially when people could get out on bail, you would expect a lot more people waiting in line or something. And it's even on the news, it seemed like next to none. Like there was 100 people arrested. I would expect at least 20 people sitting in front outside waiting to bail out people, but it didn't seem like there was a lot of people there. But then again, I know sometimes things get edited and get chopped. So maybe there were 20 people or more, behind the camera, but it just seemed kind of awkward that there was not, a slight glance of the line. So
I can understand folks from, like you said, Portland or another city flying to places like New York or Los Angeles, Washington, D.C. to protest, because that's where you feel like you're going to be heard. That's where you feel like you can make a significant impact. So I get that. But you're not coming to Phoenix to change the world.
Well,
so.
and the thing too is, the reason that, I bring this up is I used to say it a while back ago, ever since I started going to Trump rallies and, small disclaimer, I did videography work for some news agencies. I never made it because, I clean houses. But, when you're in it for a little bit or enough, some people tell you some things. And it was one of those things where, do you ever feel like some of these people are never technically a part of the location? And I'm like, sometimes I do. I just never thought about it. And I just kept saying it and saying it and saying it. It was one of those things I never wanted to be right. But when the local news stations are starting to say a good percentage of people are from out of town, that's where things were like, I just used to just say it. If you proved me wrong, I would have been cool. I would have been fine with it because it makes me more comfortable that it's, just the local people doing their thing. And, I respect that more. But I guess it kind of this kind of leads to the riot and the looting part, especially more on the looting, where I kind of understand why not take advantage of just going to your next door neighbor's state and taking advantage. I mean, they're like, why was there and I know this is one of the big ones because I was there at the aftermath of Fashion Square. I remember waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, driving to Fashion Square and seeing it. It was the most uncomfortable thing. And I think right now we'll probably insert 2 or 3 pictures of some major photo shots of the Apple store, the PF Chang's or something. And then I think there was another place getting broken in. I'm going to insert some just things from Fashion Square right now.
Okay. I should mention that I actually did storm into the PF Chang's during the riot, made myself a mean salt and pepper shrimp. I mean, I just got into the kitchen and started chopping it up. You know what I mean?
I knew.
In solidarity.
I knew right when I started drinking water. I was like, well, he's going for a joke. Stop drinking water.
Wait till you're mid-sip and drop that punchline. I did think that P.F. Chang's was an odd choice as a target. If you're not going in there to cook up some Szechuan or something, what are you
doing there?
Why a restaurant?
Distilling booze. I mean,
I did see. I'm such a foodie. I didn't even think about that.
Oh, okay. So the reason I know what they stole from the P.F. Chang's, this is the thing that I'm not a big fan of. I don't know if you know this person, Logan Paul, was at Fashion Square, a part of the looting, or just standing there filming it. And
I read about
the reason I know there was things, the liquor was they were throwing the bottles out the door.
Wow.
So I was like, oh, now I knew why they were breaking. They wanted free booze. I can't have the expensive Louis Vuitton bag. I'm going to get a free bottle of booze from P.F. Chang's.
We'll get some sake or something. Let's distinguish real quick, because we've said it a couple times now. We have created these categories, or you have, and I'm going to hang my hat on them anyway. Protester, rioter, looter.
Yes.
So when you make those distinctions, what are you thinking in your mind? And I want to see if that kind of reconciles with what I'm thinking in my mind.
Okay, so at this point, I guess it's not a complete structure. Right now, it's still more an abstract. So
Sure.
the protester, it's crazy because there's the quiet protester, which is a quiet protest. You hold your sign, you're there to support your message. The loud protester, they're screaming, there's louding, there's a person on a bullhorn giving speeches. There's probably some very smart intellectuals or people with a lot of experience of life and sharing knowledge and the things that happen for that event or whatever. Those are protests to me. And you can walk down the streets and stuff. Now, going into the riot zone, I don't know how to structure that one, but this is my abstract version. Riots can be from you just simply kicking a trash can down to pushing, starting a fight, that whole, pretty much it can be from like pushing someone, starting a fight, to where it's destroying, pushing things, vandalizing things, and that, but nothing is stolen. It's just damaged property, and it's just a heavy, heavy, hardcore sign of, we were here, we don't like what's happening, here's our strong statement.
Mm-hmm.
Looting is just looting. I mean, that's been used for a lot of things already, which is AKA you breaking into something, you stealing things, not for anything. It's just pure, just greed.
Right.
To me, that's what it is. And, I don't know if those are the same ideals of looting and rioting. I mean,
I
three.
agree with those distinctions 100%.
Cool.
And I'm with it up until strategic rioting. To me,
I forgot about that. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, because I mean, the stuff has been popping up all over the place, but it's just like, got to put the two wires together, make the spark in my brain.
Oh yeah.
I forgot about. So there is two versions, and technically there is two versions of looting. So that means there's just the riot, traditional riot, and then strategized, planned rioting. I told you, abstract, still working on.
Yeah. Oh, again, I said it not knowing that you had that thought as well.
Yeah.
See, I'm with it because I feel like a strategic riot that leaves evidence of its presence, and that could be vandalism, that could be a broken window, some property damage. That is the communal equivalent of when you get into an argument with somebody and you slam your fist on the table or something like that. You want to assert your point in a loud way that is undeniably heard. And the thing about the evidence of that riot is it leaves an impression on the place where the protest was. So even after the people are gone, passersby in the morning would see that something significant happened here. And I think that's what had happened in downtown Phoenix, basically, because I cruised through there Sunday afternoon. And I saw a lot of tagging, a lot of graffiti, broken windows, of course, at the Chase building and some other buildings. And I had never heard of this tag before, ACAB. Had you heard of that? Have you heard of that?
Someone posted it, but it was like really funny because it's what is it? Anagram is it called?
Now you just made me forget what that word is, but yeah, something like that.
Like I just pooped somewhere.
I use them all the time.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it stands for all cops are bastards.
Okay.
And you can Google it. It has a Wikipedia page. In fact, it was funny as we were driving, I just said to my phone, okay, Google, what does ACAB mean? And my phone said, ACAB means all cops are bastards. And to hear it in that voice was like, whoa, are you telling me that? Or is that what it stands for? But apparently my phone was taking a position on everything here. But no, that's what it stands for. It dates back to at least the 70s. if not the 20s, 1920s.
Wow,
Read the
really?
Wikipedia page on it. Very interesting. Who knows how true any of that is, but very interesting that it isn't something that was just made up in modern times. It can go back at least 30 to 40 years in our own culture. So anyway, that left an impact on downtown Phoenix, and for the days to come, at least, people will see that and know that something had happened there. I'm with it right up until that.
Yeah.
When you break that window and then look in, oh shit, is that an iPad? And then you go in the store and take the iPad. You know what I mean? That's when you have crossed the line from the selfless, ideally historically impactful protesting that you were doing to just pure greed. And now you're being selfish and you see an
Yeah.
iPad and you want it.
Yeah. You know what? Here's the funny thing. So this is me being like, I guess like a business person and just like whatever. We're gonna talk about the looting, of course, but when you sometimes steal these things and everyone has them, it loses its specialty. It doesn't make it special anymore. Everyone that went into a place that was a very high-end posh thing, now you're probably your next door neighbor has one because they were part of the looting with you. What makes it special now? Oh, my whole neighborhood has Gucci bags. You know, it's like it's not special anymore. Um, it is one of those things where it's just it loses its special. You know, like you want to have a pair of shoes that are different than everyone else, but when everyone has the same pair of shoes, what's the point? You know, um,
In
it's
other words, what you're saying is greed is perhaps one of the least individualistic things anyone can do.
yeah, and it's crazy when you're seeing a lot of people that, especially because now this is that planned part, like because I don't feel like we really had real planned out riots here, but I feel like the looting here was planned because one, why even have anything up there because there was no protest in Scottsdale, so and it was just straight looting. It's pretty planned at that point. Like it's like, and you can tell everyone was going for the Apple Store. Everyone was going for anything that was around the Apple Store. People finally said, you know what, let's just go in the mall. Like
Right.
that's pretty like there's a reason, there's no reason to be inside there. And then you know, and it's this is another subject matter. There are still small businesses in there, those malls and outside plazas, and that's another subject. But like now people are breaking into the big stores, but they're also breaking into the small stores. They're like, well, they're going into all the big ones. This small store has some cool things. Let me
Mhm.
take those. It seems pretty planned and got pretty greedy. Um,
And before we proceed, I want to say something to what you said. You know, like it doesn't make sense for people to go in the mall. I agree with you.
yeah,
My question is, how does going into the mall, outside of the common view, outside of where we can see you on the street, how does going into the mall and taking an item that you may then conceal and leave the mall with, how does that assert the call for justice we should all want and feel in the wake of what happened to George Floyd? Because people are going to hear this, and they're going to especially see me, a white guy, and they're
mhm,
going to say, you should not have an opinion on how people
yeah,
should protest. Let those folks protest as they see fit. And that's why I'm establishing where my condoning of this ends, because beyond that isn't necessarily condemnation.
yeah,
It's simply a complete lack of understanding on my part. Like, again, you go into the Coach store, you take a sweet little clutch and you put it in your pocket and you leave. Nobody knows you were in there. Nobody knows you took that. Every time you take it out in society and you use it, if you even use it, nobody knows that you took that in the name of George Floyd. So what is the point of stealing something other than pure greed? And then why would any legitimate protester that would challenge me for questioning those moves not feel offended that those folks are committing those crimes in the name of the cause they're pursuing?
mhm,
Why aren't we sharing that rage? That's where I'm confused. And maybe we do, and I've just seen a handful of memes that kind of say otherwise, but I've certainly seen the stuff online that says, hey, white people, don't judge how we protest. Don't judge how we riot. Don't judge the looting. And it's not that I'm judging it. I just completely do not understand how the looting is constructive, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
You want to target the upper class, you want to target the rich, the wealthy, under the presumption that that is your oppressor. Well, then why do you want the stuff they have? I mean, if that's your oppressor, the disgusting tyrant that's been in charge of society since the beginning, why do you want the purses and the shoes that they have? Why do you want their technology? Those are just badges of the bigotry holding you down. And now you want to brandish it? Very strange to me. I don't get it.
You nailed it, Russ. You pretty much like said everything I was gonna say. Like you nailed it. And then the scary thing too is that like, you know, it's like you see all these posts on Facebook and stuff, and they're like, burn everything. You know, there's people saying some really brash things, and it's like, well, you know what? When all these stores are gone and they're all looted, guess what's next? Our neighborhoods. I hate to be that person. I think the last thing they want is the black-haired little mixed trans girl, you know, saying these things, but it's true. I mean, and I think like the funny thing is me and Russ have been lying. I think we're still like almost neighbors. I think we're like a couple of blocks apart from each other. And
you
it's
haven't
like
moved, right?
Huh?
You haven't moved in the last year or two?
No, I've been here. I'm almost, I think we're hitting 5 years or 4 years.
Oh yeah, we're
yeah.
like within the same half mile. So,
So,
but that's
like,
close to downtown and not very far from Old Town. So
yeah, and it's one of those things where like we're in between those areas, and I feel bad for the person that's actually like in the middle, even between Tempe, like
sure.
Oh my goodness. But it was funny because I went to work today, and I can say this: my boss did not feel she might have had a hangover, but I can say she probably didn't feel comfortable about this. But so yeah, this whole looting thing is really crazy, and it doesn't help more when you have a celebrity who I doubt his career got destroyed from this, but like if it did, I'm surprised, and I need to go buy a lottery ticket. Logan Paul was there. Yeah, he was videoing it and trying to get the clout and all the numbers and the money, but it's like, why? Like, this is, if anything, now you already had the greedy people. Now you have someone being super greedy, also in a different form, and it's like it almost makes you lose hope in this whole thing of like, you know, if you have hope in this protest, that's like a big checkpoint to have Logan Paul just be like, I'm gonna video it just for the poops of it, you know, because
right. Again, my call to the protesters would be, how do you feel about a social media celebrity using your call for justice as the latest backdrop on their content to get hits and likes? I mean,
yeah,
if you're not enraged by that, yes, they're bringing attention to your cause.
Yeah.
But their cause is their cause. Their cause isn't your cause. So
yeah,
any publicity is good publicity. Any press is good press. But at the end of the day, things can get perverted with bad intention.
I mean, it kills me, like, you know. And then it's funny because, you know, it was funny because I remember Sunday, I was like, should we just do it Sunday? And you're like, no, let's just wait one more day. Let's hit today. I'm hoping right now there's not a protest getting set up right now. You know, but who knows? There probably is going to be another one. But the thing is, it's like when curfew kicked in and all these other things, I thought it was really weird. A lot of things naturally started popping up that would have been like, they're still in the air, but they're being settled down. And, you know, I sent Russ a video and he goes, I saw that. And then I'm like, well, today, literally the final like golden hour about to record, a lot of stuff just got put to my lap from NYPD and all these other things. And this is the planned stuff, planned right, the riots. And then I never thought we would be talking about planned riots. I remember just like sending you a video and I'm like, I mean, there's something, but there's not enough. And literally,
Right.
the golden hour to start recording, literally minutes before we're going to record, all this stuff just comes my way. And I'm sitting there going, oh,
Woohoo!
there's video evidence. And it's crazy. I'm not saying which side, but I think certain sides were like, enough is enough. I have proof. I have videos. People are admitting it. They have pictures. And it's crazy. And it's the planned part. And it seems that's happening a lot more in New York and Texas, and maybe even Los Angeles, where there's bricks to throw or substances to throw. There's water bottle to keep the rioters and protester hydrated, which in a way, that one I don't mind. But I guess if the cops find them, they destroy them, they get rid of them, because, you know, it's helping prolong
Right.
the
Yeah.
event even longer. And now, supposedly, there's even sometimes they're saying they're finding bottles of gasoline, water bottles filled with gasoline.
Wow.
So, and I mean, it's crazy, like, you know, because, you know, that's so normal, you know, finding bottles of gasoline, you know, like, yeah, you know,
Oh, yeah,
Russ, I know your truck is running low on gas. Just, I think on that bush, there's some gasoline. It might not
There's a
be
couple
your grade.
of pallets of bottles of gasoline over there on the side of the. I like to go to the bottles of gasoline are us downtown, and yeah, very strange. I actually didn't even know. I thought that a water bottle couldn't hold gasoline. I thought the gasoline like ate away at the plastic, and that's why you got to get those special orange.
Oh my
gas
goodness. Okay, so
Am I just an idiot, or?
No. I've done some hood things. Putting gasoline in because, you know, we didn't have those jugs to fill up gas. Like, oh,
Right.
I was the kid who used every drop and literally made it home on an empty tank, and then would walk a block to get some gas. You know, he's like, oh, I got it, my $1.50,
Right.
and fill up my gallon jug. Watch it. It's gonna be funny. Probably this week you're gonna be like, I saw someone fill up a gallon jug of milk. Well, it was an empty jug of milk, and then they put gas in it. I'm like, I hope they're using it for good. Before I would have been like, yeah, that's normal. But now I would have been like, get that man's license plate or woman's license plate, please.
Making a 2.5, making a 2% Molotov cocktail. Sure. Vitamin D Molotov. All right.
Well, and
anyway.
The crazy thing is, like, there's a video. I didn't have time to like download it or get it. Hopefully I can like screen capture it somewhere. But there's a lady who literally had like a brick and picked it up, and she says, stop giving these black men these bricks because they're gonna go to jail. And inside the car, this sedan, four-door car, was a group of white people with masks covering their face. And they're like, then you can hear a girl going, I'm sorry. Like, why are they passing out bricks? Like, and there's also another video where there's a guy, supposedly, but who knows, people are getting paid to loot now or riot. So it's a very weird thing, and it's, again, on the major stations. There's video evidence starting to pop up and pictures showing up, mostly the planned brick stuff, because it's like, why is there a pile of bricks? You know, it's like the gas thing. It's like, there's no construction around here, and who uses this style of bricks in this?
Yeah, I've
this
seen some
district.
pretty compelling videos like that. I also saw a great video where, did you send me this or someone else, where a guy had like a little hammer and he was chipping away at the sidewalk. Have you seen that one?
No.
There's a guy chipping away at the sidewalk, and he's obviously making his own stones to throw at police or at windows or whatever. And protesters grab that guy, and they're like, we're not doing this. We're not doing that. And they hand him over to the police.
Yeah.
And to me, that was a really compelling piece of footage, because it drew that line between what is a productive protest, maybe even riot, and then where the other side of that is, where it essentially becomes unproductive, not condoned by those seekers of justice, and something that could just potentially be harmful and distracting to the cause. I just loved how poignant that was. They said, they grabbed the guy, they handed him to the police. The police basically said, thanks. And a protester got caught up, but that protester was allowed back into position on the protest line. He was not arrested, at least not in that clip. I don't know. But It was such a great image of what all of this is supposed to be about. And it's crazy. This is like, it's fun. And there's an undeniable element of fun to me to think that there are, I'm a comic book fan, you know that. So that there is an orchestrator of this, a secret society, a mastermind behind the scenes that's trying to poison this thing and influence it to their own means.
Yeah.
That is an interesting thought. I mean, I lived in California when Arnold Schwarzenegger was governor.
Oof.
And to me, that was like, I'm living in a comic book, you know? Schwarzenegger's the governor. What is this episode? I'm living in an episode of The Simpsons, you know?
Yeah.
And so there's always that element to me, in me, that looks at this with a dark intrigue. And I would defy anybody to say that they don't have it. I'm not asking you to admit it, because I'll admit it. I'm the one wearing the Skeletor shirt. But it's undeniable that there are some people that feel a macabre intrigue in that potential conspiratorial subtext going on. Are people dropping off pallets of bricks on strategic corners where the protests might erupt into riots and looting if they just have these tools there?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
No, but it's crazy because it's like, now it's like a story, like the protesters have to protect the protest. It's like if any of the protesters that are there for good, if they see some things, I mean, if you're watching this, say something, tell the police, be like, hey, yo, I just want to yell at your face, but I'm not trying to do this. There's this level of bad things just sitting here.
Right.
There's something wrong. And if you're also willing to help, you know, like if you see a van and a jacket and some weird things getting dropped off, take a picture of the license plate, take a picture of the person if you can, saying, hey, they or make a video, you know, get the best quality you can get and say, hey, here's some evidence of this stuff happening. Like there's a pile of bricks getting left. Like we'll just leave it with the bricks and the water and the gas. You know, like there's some things just being left randomly by some person. It's just like awkward.
Right.
Know?
And you know what? If you hear what Emily says right now and you're like, well, I don't want to give the police shit. Fuck the police.
Yeah.
If you think the police are standing there against your cause, I'm not going to judge you for that, but I'm going to tell you that those folks that are doing these things, orchestrating chaos, they are just as much against your cause as the police are. And why not then pit your enemies against each other, direct the police toward these orchestrators of looting so they could take care of each other, and your protest could then be more resounding as a result. If the police are focused on the looters, you could stand there and continue to protest. We only have a curfew because there was looting. Yeah. People are looking at the decree that Governor Ducey put out, and they're thinking that he's issued an anti-protesting decree. He's issued an anti-looting decree. There's a lot of stuff that we could still do after 8 p.m. Read it. We could still go get food. I could still go to a restaurant and hang out in that restaurant and eat. I could go shopping. I could visit friends and family. You could basically do everything except hang out with a group of people on the street. I mean, that's what the governor has issued. You might get pulled over. You might get questioned, where are you going? What are you doing? But if you got that bag of food next to you, or you could prove that you were hanging out, so you could show a receipt, you know, then that's all well and good under this week's curfew. So it's only because we had looting that you can't go protest. So I'm the bad guy because I want to go to Burger King?
Well, no, here's a dark secret about it. And is those groups that are doing these planned, you know, riots / looting, they're using you probably as a puppet, because they're like, well, we don't want you to snitch, you're with our side, or they don't know. And it's like, there are people that are trying to get you in trouble that are supposed to be on your side. So right now it is time to it's hard, because it's like, I think the last thing a lot of people want to realize is that maybe their own friends are trying to use as puppet, and they don't even know, you know.
Mm.
And it's like, it's best to just tell, because it's like, it's crazy. I mean, I've gotten DMs already from friends who said it's a part of the revolution. I'm like, I have trust issues now with some friends because they told me, or concern issues, because it's like, it's for the revolution. We don't need to go into civil war. And I've already posted it. I'm not taking it down. I already posted it on my Facebook. I'm concerned right now of us going into civil war. And, now that you brought it up, and how you put it in the whole cartoon term, now I'm
Yeah.
scared of like protesters and rioters getting used like puppets
Right.
by these, whatever. I don't even have a proper name for them. And in a way, right now, I don't want to use a proper name, but there's a group of people that want things to happen. So hopefully the world becomes the way they want the world to become.
Right.
And it's going to
interesting. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, and like I was going to say, like, if this keeps going and going and going and going, like, think about it. Look, all the stores get looted. Guess what's next? Our neighborhoods. Our neighborhoods are next. Our houses are next. Our apartments are next. And I'm a minimalist, and I still have things to lose.
Sure.
I don't have a lot of things, but it's just like, it's a lot. And then, I mean, Russ has a collection of things. He does not want to be losing.
I mean, this is prime looting right here.
Yeah, it's like that's
some nerd is gonna
life.
break into my house and be like, "Yeah, no justice, no peace." Is that a limited edition Wolverine? Let me get my hands on.
I know you would. I would believe.
Huh?
I would believe you would have like a Captain American shield that you just start swinging.
You know what, man? It's so funny that you said that, because I've often thought I have a lot of weapons in this house this big. I have nothing to actually defend. I have a lot of spring-loaded gadgets.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing that would actually. It would almost be like a deleted scene from Home Alone, where it'd be like just nothing bouncing off of the intruders. Like, what is this? Yeah, I've thought about it. I don't even have a cap shield. I don't have a cap shield. I don't have Wolverine claws. I don't have a crossbow. I don't have a katana sword. I don't have all this stuff that like a hardcore nerd, like the sword hanging over a fireplace or something. Not even that. I'm throwing on that Sherlock Holmes hat right there, and I'm trying to determine what you had for lunch as you beat the hell out of me in my living room.
Don't forget to point with the pipe. He's like, "You not stealing from me."
Your father was in construction. Oh.
By the way, you ever had that happen to you, where someone's like smoking a pipe and they're literally point at something with their pipe? It's the weirdest experience in the world.
I would love that. I've never.
I'm just sitting
experienced
there,
that.
like, the guy's like, "It's over there." I'm like, "Really? You really gonna point with the pipe?"
Sophistication, my friend. Sophistication.
Oh, like, well, and the funny thing is, like, so, I come from, I'm a big wrestling fan, so, heels and faces, and,
Yeah.
it's crazy, like, but yeah, it's almost like that. Like, we have a faction. Like, we don't know the faction's name, but we know there's these people that are doing it. It's like,
Right.
But,
and there's always the question: who benefits, who profits? That's how I try to analyze any conspiracy theory. And some people might think that's all we're talking about here is conspiracy theory. But I would encourage, just Google this stuff. I mean, apparently it's all out there. But and I guess that's what a conspiracy theorist would say too, right? It's all out there.
But it's legitimate.
I
like,
don't know where to look.
Yeah, I don't know where to look. I mean, okay, you want a conspiracy theory? Here's a good one. So during Sunday, there was a 2-hour session of live recording of UFO activity. Yeah.
What?
Yes.
This past Sunday?
Yes.
Over where? Do you know?
In the middle
We
of
just
nowhere.
launched a rocket into space, for crying out loud.
Everything happened. Everything happened. There's the conspiracy theory. And then if you find a UFO, you get these beautiful, Salt River tubing coupons for $7 off. I wish they were Taco Bell Hoop
Sure.
insisted. But
Something
I got
real.
Salt River because of COVID-19, which is the next.
Hey, remember COVID-19?
Yes, I do remember COVID-19. We are so
Holy
professional
cow.
by dropping humor.
Well, if there isn't an outbreak, if the second wave doesn't hit in the next
happening.
week or two,
It's happening.
I hear the numbers. I hear what you're saying, but I'm talking about if the nation doesn't embrace a second wave of COVID-19 upon us, because you're saying the numbers doubled over the weekend.
Yeah, so let's say like our average number would be like 200,
200 new
This is
cases
just-
in a day.
and this is just the Maricopa. This isn't complete state of Arizona. I just been paying attention to Maricopa count numbers just because we were the highest ranked in
Okay.
our state. Our average would be like a new case would be 200 a day. Well, literally over the whole thing, the last 2 days have tripled.
And that's wild because Monday's numbers, we're recording this on Monday, Monday's numbers usually reflect the weekend. And then you don't get Monday's numbers really until Tuesday. If I've been understanding the chart that's been on azhealth.org, I think.
Okay,
I've been understanding that effectively. Monday's results are basically the weekend's worth of tests, right?
Okay, but here's the thing. Saturday, this is Sundays and Saturdays. This is where the numbers shot up. Literally just shot up. So Saturday, it was 900 and some change. And then Sunday, the 31st, was 681.
Whew.
So
that's
tripled.
Just for the 1 day.
Those 2 days.
Wow. Well, listen, people have been protesting. We've been seeing masks, but not in the proportion that you would think. It's not like a majority of protesters seem to be wearing masks. And honestly, protest culture usually includes either the V for Vendetta mask or a bandana or something. So that's already kind of a part of the scene. So it's been interesting to see people take to the streets, very close quarters, certainly not 6 feet apart. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, so it's like, even
back up. No, just don't breathe on me. No,
yeah.
I mean, very ineffective. But yeah, certainly that's not happening. There we go. There it is. And it's as if people have completely forgotten that we're at the tail end here of what we
It was
thought.
almost going to be the tail end, and now we're back into it.
If there isn't a second wave that consumes the news as COVID-19 did in the last 12 weeks, then can we start talking about how maybe it wasn't real in the first place at that point? Because there's no greater evidence of seeing all these people come together in the streets, breathing on each other, touching each other, chanting, singing together, and then nothing happens. I mean, to me, that would be undeniable experiential or anecdotal evidence that we should look back and wonder if that was all orchestrated. So we're talking about conspiracy upon conspiracy here. It's getting very layered, very convoluted.
I'm not trying to put two and two together. I'm just saying that, hey, this protest happened, numbers jumped. Not surprising.
Right.
It was a big cluster of people together. That's what happened. It's like, oh, you're not wearing a mask. You know what's a weird thing? This is conspiracy.
Oh, boy.
People
all
wearing
in
black
now,
gloves.
Say what?
Wearing gloves, like medical gloves.
Yeah.
I saw some videos where people were just wearing medical gloves, but no mask.
What's the conspiracy there?
I mean, you can touch a lot more things without leaving your fingerprints. That's what I'm saying. If you're a vandal, you've got a nice glove, paint doesn't stick to your hand, you rip that off and...
Wow.
I mean...
And yeah, you could just say, hey, I'm coronavirus. Is my alibi.
I know we were both tense, but I knew for some, like, minute 1%, I was like, we're going to crack up. We're going to be dead serious about a lot of it. And then, like, just be like, God, this sounds like a goddamn conspiracy, even though there's evidence, like, right here just doing this. just like, and you're like, it's a conspiracy still, just in case, because
Right.
we don't want to be getting blamed for shit. Joke
Well,
time.
I want to reiterate what I said at the beginning. This stuff exists
Yeah.
separate from the legitimate, righteous cause for
Hmm.
justice evoked by what happened to George Floyd. All of this stuff is completely supplemental, orbital to that truth and that reality. And you're going to hear
Oh,
a lot of commentary about that stuff. So why not dwell on the fringe and find some relief, even as that truth still exists? If you can't do that, then what are you fighting for? Quite frankly,
you know what?
I wanted to make another real point though
Hmm.
about the looting, and no humor here so much that I could find yet. But and I'm asking you a question with this because I don't know. Again, I don't know if this is an opinion I should express, or it would be perceived that I have the right to have. But
No, I mean,
when
this
you
is a
loot a mall and the mall is consequently closed for the number of days it will require to rebound from the damage, um, who suffers? I've heard a lot of people say, forget the mall, it's all insured. All those stores are insured, no problem. But the part-timers that work at the Wetzel's Pretzels, they can't go to work today. I presume, and they're not going to be able to work this week. Some of those folks might be people of color that either maybe went to the protest or at least wanted to, but they have a family, they have priority. What do you think about that stuff where when you attack a business with the mentality of you're fighting the man, who suffers really are the people at the boot heel of that man, because they're the ones doing the day-to-day operations of that business. Right or wrong? I don't know.
it's okay. So this is the reason. Okay, not this part, but it was the small business part. This was actually another smidget. I'm still waiting for our guest, our surprise guest, because he's in it's Fargo, right? That's how you say it.
Furlough.
Furlough. He's in furlough.
Fargo's a great movie.
Oh, well,
Furlough
I'm
is.
gonna furlough. So he's on furlough until August. This company makes good money. They just open a store to the side, for public use instead of going to the warehouse and all these other things. Now, imagine if that place got stolen. Yes, they do have the money, but this person's already in furlough, can still lose their job. And
Mm-hmm.
then this place gets destroyed. The insurance pays off for the things, but not the workers. Now the workers
Okay.
have to go find work somewhere else, and you might have lost your great work team. But going to your thing, it's a hard thing because it's such a good one. You nailed it. It is a good one. Like, because it does affect people because now people lose jobs because insurance doesn't pay people's payments, their work
Right.
hours and stuff, or them being out. And then, now they're out of the job. Now they have to wait, or they can wait the 2 months. Some companies will be like, if you are willing to wait 2 or 3 months, or until we get everything done, then you can start working again. But then it's like, well, then I'm out of the job for 2 or 3 months. And even if I find another job, what if that other job is a better job? Or not even that, it's just, it's like, it's a weird thing. You can lose a person because they're like, well, I'm already working here. I'm already used to this. Now I have to adapt to that. And the thing is, some of these places are pretty good. I mean, it's like, to me, Nordstrom's in Fashion Square, I will like, if I was like very picky and was like, I wish it was very diverse. Nordstrom's is diverse. It's a pretty diverse group of people that work there. And, it's a great place. I understand certain places might seem a little bit whitewash, but still, people are losing their jobs. People are learning. And it sucks because it's like, not everyone that works at Fashion Square, some rich kid's parents weren't making them work there, and they're going to college, this is their
Right.
beer money. There's people that's going to be their job for 10 years. I knew people that worked at Nordstrom's for 10 years, and then they somehow working there for 10 years allowed them working to an insurance company down the road, which is
Yeah.
a great move in life. But now people are losing it. I don't know what shops they know hit, but I wouldn't be surprised if Nordstrom's got hit. and Nordstrom's was already kicking and moving.
Yeah.
So
Anthropology, I know, was a big one that got hit.
yeah, but it's one of those things where people's greed have now destroyed people's work, and
Right.
it's a very gray area. People don't want to talk about it, but there's some people who will fight to the bitter end on one side or the other, saying no, it's fine. Like
Right.
it's that thing.
Collateral
And
damage. You can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs. We're not going to get to where we need to be in this society if we don't make an impact. I'll tell you what, though, you start using phrases like collateral damage or can't make an omelet, yada, 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 starting to sound like your own enemy when you say
yeah,
stuff like that.
okay,
A certain president drops very similar lines when he was looking for those weapons of mass destruction that apparently didn't exist.
hmm
And you protested against that too. So your cause may be different, but when you start using the same language, I, as somebody that's looking from the outside and wanting to find his right place in history, I'm disoriented by that. So you want my allegiance? You have it, but lock me into your cause. Give me an undeniable sense of cooperation, and then advocacy, so I know how to talk about it by using the kind of language you want me to say.
yeah,
That's
really
that's
deep.
where I'm coming from with all this.
No,
I definitely want to be on the. Who doesn't want to be on the right side of history? But people have their own interpretation of what that side is.
yeah.
So that's why there's a side of history at all.
Well, and the thing too is like I said this to multiple people. It seems like one side is becoming the other side, and
Mm,
it is that thing you were saying. A lot of them are doing what their worst enemies are doing. Why that? But so to phrase some of the things and bring it back to a simple thing, and this is I'm gonna read you the DM right now
okay.
that made me say we should do this.
Mm,
So I said, I'm going to skip a lot of it, but here's the main part. A lot of us are crushed right now in downtown Phoenix. This is the first protest. Crushed. A lot of property damage is done in downtown Phoenix. Sounds like there was a lot of damage from the other night. Yep. Nice. No, some of it was friends' businesses.
mm,
People are angry and misunderstood. So sometimes riots are the only way to make yourself to be heard when people won't listen to peaceful protests. These places are usually insured anyways. Outrage and revolution is never easy, LOL.
mm.
And I go, and then I just like was done.
Yeah.
Like I needed a breather from that person. I did tell him later, I'm like, if you're going to this protest, take care. Because from what I'm seeing, because I don't know, saying we became a grade A, like, you know, um, uh, what I forgot the name, reporters or anything. We didn't become
Sure.
grade A. We just see what was we skimmed, but it's kind of crazy when we just skimmed this. A lot of things popped up, especially like I said on the golden hour of this recording.
Yeah.
Especially like, oh, let me just check one little fact to see how factual this is, and it was just like an explosion, and it was the whole planned riot thing, planned looting, and now we're talking about it very deeply. But when I read a message like that, I was like, we need to talk about it. And this was when we nailed it, a lot of it, because that Sunday I was small business day only.
Mm-hmm.
My food, my ice cream, even getting my beers from King's, one of the coolest bars slash, microbrewery,
Yeah. Liquor store kind of a.
liquor store. Yeah, like
Yeah.
you get to pick your own little bottles and stuff. And I asked the questions, and what's the funny thing? I got time to ask the questions to these small businesses because there was no one around, because they were more concerned about another protest happening. So I was like, okay, let's talk about small business. And I read that to them, and the insurance part was like the crushing part to them. And they're like, if we get hit, we were out of business for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. we're already hurting. That the equipment gets paid, we have to fire our employees because we can't afford them anymore. It's like we can't. And it's like, and if we could restart, again, it's gonna take 3 months, 6 months, because now they get a new building, they have to get in, you know, papers and insurance or whatever. And that's a lengthy process. And those people that you build a good team with, and that was the funny thing about some of these small businesses, because small businesses want to have a good team that's going to be there. They want 10-year workers, and they can lose that team because it's like, well, I had to go work over here, and it actually worked out better that I worked here. And it, you know, they have concerns about losing their workers and workers never coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And unemployment doesn't do jack shit sometimes. So it was the same story over and over and over and over. It's like, yeah, if we're lucky to rebuild, it still takes time. And then we have to relocate because we doubt we're going to get the same location where we want to be. And it's like, oof, you're right. And that's the part that, like, I really wanted to talk about this, because it's a very touchy subject. And now I think it's about 40%, I believe. I could be totally wrong. About 40% of America is unemployed right now. It's actually a very high number.
Well, these are the same businesses that 2 weeks ago people were almost demanding that you order delivery or curbside from. Keep our small businesses alive, keep Main Street open, do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And now there's a cavalier attitude about vandalizing them to the point of closing potentially permanently, because something else is now on our communal table as a country. And it's kind of crazy which way the wind blows on any given day. I mean, I'm just gonna remember COVID-19. remember the good old days when we had to stay inside at night because a virus in the air might kill us. Oh man, those are the good old days.
Yeah.
Now we have a government enforced curfew. That's how fast times can change. This year, 2020, who knew?
You know, and the crazy thing too is, like, I was funny, like Saturday I was with my friend, my bandmate, and we were eating. The monsoon was coming, and I was just like, oh, monsoon. Like, because that was one of the original things to stay home. It's like, oh, monsoon's coming. I'm not dealing with the dust, the rain, the debris. I'm staying home. Call out, make that poor person drive through the mud.
Sure.
You know, we're getting delivery. But it's kind of sad but true in a way. It's just like, you know, and it's like, oh, the electricity went out for an hour. Okay. Good thing I know how to, especially I know you could survive without electricity for an hour or two. It's like, well, I'll get my sketchbook, I'll get the candle.
Yeah, an hour or two maybe.
But you know what's a crazy thing? So keeping some hijinks. So as I saw the riot, the looting happening, I'm like, shit, I need to buy an Apple TV. And then, like, the next day I'm looking for Apple.
Talking about.
And then I'm looking at it, like the high-end Apple TVs all sold out, and I'm like, I knew it. It was a sign. I should have bought it when I could have, but no, I had to wait.
It was looted.
I was so bummed. I was like, well, there goes my Apple TV. And,
oh man.
Yeah, but it was just so funny though. I was just like, I'm like, oh.
Did he get the TV? He got the TV! He got the Apple TV!
Now I gotta go buy a 4K smart TV instead, you know. So.
Well, listen, I think we have managed to effectively lose half of our friends by posting this on YouTube, if YouTube keeps it up at all.
Yeah, because I always feel like we kind of, not that we test the waters, but like today we really test the waters. And the crazy thing is, I have a feeling, and this is the scary part. Good thing you posted what you said just in the beginning, because I feel like we're gonna get a lot of outside judgments besides the state of Arizona and Phoenix, like people from other states and things. And you know, the thing is, in reality, we are just too, like, I guess this is more of like a comedy podcast, but this, like you just said from the get-go, this is Phoenix Tonight, and
Right.
it is a part of our scene, and it's part of something. And I mean, like I said earlier too, we have concerns about losing, because sometimes we can also lose during these protests and riots. We can lose and looting um, our creative zones, these zones that were beautiful to us, and wasn't a lot of people. We wish there was a million people to enjoy, what we do. But I'm concerned about losing, like places like hardcore places like Space 55, the DIY, um, you know, acting.
Yeah.
I'm all like,
Theaters, open mics, and yeah,
yeah,
to me, it's no coincidence that last night, Sunday night, the first night of our curfew here, to me, it's no coincidence that the activity, uh, the breaking of the curfew, I guess, by protesters and rioters, that took place on 7th Street and Roosevelt, which for us here in downtown Phoenix is kind of the threshold or the entryway into Roosevelt Row, one of our prominent arts districts. So to me, that's no coincidence. Artists are chomping at the bit to fight for justice and to have their voices heard. In the shadow of curfew, and basically in the spirit of this show, I would dare say now is an amazing time and a poignant opportunity to find other ways to get these messages out there, perhaps more than just gathering in the street. What else can we do as artists to assert our opinions toward righteousness and justice? I mean, we're doing it with this podcast just by kind of meandering through some thoughts, making some potentially tasteless jokes in the
yeah,
context of everything, just trying to figure it all out. And everybody's doing podcasts. So again, if you're a creative here in Phoenix or anywhere in the world and you're watching this, it's a challenge to find a way to get this message out there that transcends the bounds of a curfew, that transcends the potential dangers of a crowd in the midst of a quarantine. There's a pandemic, I should say. There's all sorts of challenges that have been laid at our feet here. And as artists, we could be trailblazers in this regard. So what you're saying is it's easy to get swept up in the swell of anger, go out to the street, march. That's our primal tribal. We want to do this. We want to be out there. We want to be seen. We want to be heard. We want to do what's right. We want to see what's right done. Sometimes you gotta stay home. So
yeah.
then what?
It's
And that's what
it's a
we've been
weird,
talking about for the past like month and a half here on this thing.
yeah. Like we were more paranoid that some of our friends and the things that help us, the communities, won't even have the money to pay the bills, and we lose it that way. Now it's like there was another element, like Film Bar. Ooh, I love Film Bar. I love my indie films and like retro films that they play. Like, I hope if that's one of those things, those like small niche things, let alone, I am a person that likes to go to the bar. I'm not gonna lie. If like Lost Leaf went out, I'd be bummed. Like, and
Yeah.
it's just a house converted into a bar.
Well,
It's
Film
like,
Bar is trying to start a streaming service.
yeah,
So
but
that's interesting.
it is a very
And
interesting thing.
maybe
So,
we could talk to somebody from there about it in the future.
oh yeah,
And then, yeah,
I forgot we have a
definitive place.
podcast. We could do that.
I know, right? And then someplace like Lost Leaf, I'm sure other cities have places like Lost Leaf, but it's kind of hard to describe.
Yeah, because it's not a
For
dive
somebody that
bar. It's
doesn't-
like
yeah,
something posh, and there's poetry readings, bands playing there. I mean, our dive bar is technically Bikini Lounge, and even that's a place I wouldn't mind. Not, I don't want to
right.
lose. It's like I like that pile of poop that's been sitting there. God only knows when.
Well, if Bikini Lounge ever got burned to the ground when they rebuilt it, I hope they'd add a credit card machine in there so I could pay with a card, for crying out loud. Aren't they cash only still? Bikini
Yeah,
Lounge?
and then you got that like super untrustworthy ATM that's gonna charge you $5 or $7 because you took money out of it.
Right.
You're like,
$5 surcharge for a $3 PBR.
oh my goodness. You know, this is me. This is a dark joke. If that thing ever caught on fire, that's one of those buildings. It's gonna have a weird smell. Like, I'm sorry. I'm just saying it now because there's enough
Wow.
people who peed on the floor, outside, inside, and those leather couches or chairs or whatever. Those things have been sitting there forever,
Oh,
just
yeah.
soaking human, just sweat and grit and everything in between.
Oh, that's so true. I'm trying to think of what that. You smell
Oh,
you smell cowhide, onion, and human urine. Something happening in the bikini lounge? Wow.
you know what's the sad thing? I was gonna say I hope nothing does catch on fire. Something did catch on fire during this whole protest on Thomas, I believe, right by the Coronado district.
Yeah.
I think it was like an old folks home or something. It was right by the Jack in the Box. That building, someone caught it on fire, or it caught on fire, and it reeks. I passed by it.
Really?
Yes. So there was a casualty in the fire, and it was this part, but I don't know if it was a part of the protest, riot, looting, but it was just an abandoned
You're
building.
talking about the building itself as the casualty. There wasn't
Yeah.
a human. Okay.
There was no human casualties. It was already an empty building, but
I didn't know that.
oh,
Check
and the
that out.
smell past it. I don't know, but I just thought it was awkward. It was just in an awkward position, and
Yeah.
I've seen some videos of just the smoke, and you could just tell there was a lot of debris inside. So, I mean, that morning, because I went to downtown first to check out downtown. A lot of downtown was blocked because they were just like, we're just cleaning up. We're just getting prepared for the next protest. And then I drove, and I go, oh, I need to go through Thomas to check out this building that caught on fire. Checked it out, and just the smell. Like, I was barely on 7th Street turning into Thomas, and I'm like, there's a smell. And I get closer and closer, and the smell just got stronger and stronger and stronger.
Did not know that had happened. I'll have to go check that out.
Yeah, I mean, the smell is gonna be there. Like, but I was just like, the smell, it's so strong. Like, and then it passed, and it took all the way to 16th for the smell to like dissipate finally.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I guess on that note, speaking of, and it may have been news to some people when you said that this is a comedy podcast. They might be like, oh, this is supposed to be comedy? Okay. Hey, we're trying,
I know.
people.
We're
Unscripted.
trying.
Very little planning goes into this. We just press record and see what happens. So.
We're wrestling promo out of this show. Like, there's no. I mean, okay, there's things that are planned, like what we need to talk about, and
Sure.
sometimes a line or two are written, but they're never like, at this cue at 3:45 we say this. It's like, okay, I'm gonna try to sneak it in. Oh, perfect timing.
Oh, yeah. And when I did what we'd call now the classic Phoenix Tonight at Space 55, I was such a feudal control freak over that. We had a monologue, 3 guests. I did a desk bit in the spirit of Johnny Carson or David Letterman. There's a lot of production after the fact, as far as my brother editing in graphics and video sequences and stuff. If you're watching this and you can find those episodes on YouTube, please watch 1 or 2, because we put a significant amount of time into those episodes.
Yeah.
And they only really suffered from the fact that Space 55 is a true independent theater and not a television studio.
Yeah.
So people will comment that the lighting doesn't feel right and the audio is echoey. Well, that's because I was trying to create something in a space that wasn't designed for the thing I was trying to create. I mean, they were kind enough to offer that space for almost 2 years for my little production. And I will never be more grateful to them for that. But it just wasn't built for like something that was to be recorded. It's a theater. It wasn't built for something to be recorded and posted on YouTube like a show. So when we started doing this, I just said, you know what? I'm not going to go nuts over writing the monologue and designing a desk bit and talk to my brother about the cues and the graphics and the title cards. And, you know, we'll book guests, of course, but, you know, let's just do 1 and have a meta conversation versus 3. And it's been 20 minutes. It's going too long. You know, forget it. Let's just have fun.
it's fun and it's cool because like you are wrestling, you're wrestling promo, like you know how to just do it, and it's not that you know how to fake it, you just know how to just hold your joke, you know how to like just say what you need to say and get it out. And that's
Thanks.
the thing, because that I think that's the thing too, is like you can tell I need a little bit more practice with it, because it's like there's times I want to talk but I realize you're still talking, I need to just wait, and it's pretty obvious even in this one. Um, but in reality, it's just one of those things where, it's cool because you have the gift for this. It's like the gift, the gab, you have it, it's like some of these jokes you say, like, I would like to say this right now. If you made it all this way this far, guess which one of his jokes were planned and which ones were just free ball thrown in the air. And, I'm not saying Russ is probably comedian level, like a professional comedian level, but you have that gift of the gab. You know when to drop something. You pick up something. You're like, okay, don't say, just say it. People laugh, they laugh. They don't, they don't. And you've had once in a while a stinker, which is far and in between, because I try to think of one. The last one was a long time ago, and I remember when it stinked. It was pretty bad, and we were just like,
The
hey.
last one was, well, do you remember it?
I don't remember it, which is a good thing.
Well, yeah, I appreciate all that. It just comes from a desire to have something productive for folks to watch. I presume if people are like me, they'll put on a show like this and let it run in the background while they're doing other things. And if there's a snippet or two of humor or wisdom or insight, something that they hadn't thought of a certain way before, they get that, then to me, it's productive. So
Yeah. And I
well,
love it. I just
thanks for encouraging me to do it. Thanks for editing it, posting it.
no problem.
You are definitely the person behind the scenes. This is.
I'm more surprised that we did this. I mean, I did get to read the DM that kind of pretty much started it all, and the funny thing was, it was mainly about small business, and because in the reality of that's who our guests are. They're small businesses that we support, and and it's not just small business; it's indie creators and stuff, and it's one of these things. I was like, no, I can't. I'm not settling down for this one. I didn't want to talk about it, but the main goal was, even in our text messages, like, I just want to talk about small business. That is it. I just want to talk about small business. And I mean, we talked about some really deep things, and we talked about some things that might be conspiracy, like a 2-hour UFO live stream. Like,
yeah, now I got to Google that. I got to find that because I had no idea.
I mean, but it's already crazy.
Were the aliens finally coming to make contact? They looked down and they were like, somebody's already done this, bitch.
I told my boss and my mother already. I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised this week we just see a UFO. I'm like, oh, a UFO. What are we supposed to do?
Right.
Oh, I am gonna go get an ice cream. Forget this.
Yeah, timing's a little off there, ET. We could have used your all humans are one race call to action about 2 weeks ago. Little late.
No, you're gonna give us the cure for this crazy corona. I know there's like 15 different coronas, but you're just gonna give it to all of us. Okay, cool.
Right. All right, Emily. Well, the next time we do one of these, we will have a guest. We'll get back to discussing the local art scene. Not that this is shelved permanently, but I feel like I've said everything I really wanted to say about it right now. Just get it out of my system.
I mean, yeah, me too. I mean, at this point, if we got any more deeper, I would have to be the camera person. You'd be the person on the microphone. And we'll probably have one of those cool microphones with the box, so it'd be like Phoenix Tonight on the
Phoenix
box.
Tonight
So.
logo. Yeah, that'd be cool.
I know the people.
I don't think anybody's asking for that, so.
But hopefully not. Let's just go back to local entertainment. That's the main subject. I mean, this is a local thing, but it's also a global thing, a country thing, and almost a global thing, because it seems like other people are about to go into protests, and for other reasons, not just because of this, but their own personal reasons, and I don't blame them. So I mean, we're all burnt out. And that's what it is. It's just like, if I could just leave one more thing about this whole thing is there's a lot of people unemployed. A lot of us are burnt out. I get it. And, it's crazy to me that this is happening. But at the same time, when you really think about it, it's not really surprising because there's just a lot of people that have just been locked up too long. And it just, but I mean, that's the reason why we made this podcast. I asked you to make a podcast and you wanted to bring Phoenix Tonight. And I'm like, let's do it. Because initially this was the whole idea was just us to just get some stuff out of us and then just post it, but
Yeah.
it's really cool. I get to meet a lot of interesting people because of you, and hopefully I get to do the same and bring in some interesting guests pretty soon myself. So, and we get to share those experiences together, and
I love it.
it's awesome. It is the greatest.
Thanks, my friend. Thanks,
Later.
everybody, for watching. We'll see you next time here at Phoenix Tonight.
Late.